night weary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, really napping, suddenly there came a tapping as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. It is some visitor, I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Who is this? Distinctly I remember. It was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished tomorrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. The silken, sad, uncertain mercy of each purple coating filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, this it is, and nothing more." And presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, the stillness gave no token. The only word there spoken was the whispered word. This I whispered, an echo murmured back the word, Lenore, merely this, nothing more. Back into the chamber turned, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, something louder than before. Surely, said I, there is something I know that is. Let me see then what there it is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter when distinctly raving of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made, not a minute stopped and stayed, and but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door. Perched on the dust of Palestinian above my chamber door. Perched and sat. Nothing more. This ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven. The ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the mighty shore, tell me what thy lord name is on that speed of the raven. Nevermore. My child gaze and gave the flower to hear discourse so plainly, which answered to meaning and relevancy for, for we cannot help the cream that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast, or the sculpted bust above his chamber door. With such names, nevermore. But the raven, so lonely on that blessed bust, spoke only that one word, said so in that one word without more. I scarce know another things have known before. As my hopes have gone before. And the bird said, startled at the stillness broken by the price of aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stop and stall. Caught from some unhappy master, merciful disaster, followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hopes that melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I took myself linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl, whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divine, with my head at ease, reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, with the lamplight floating o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight floating o'er, huge the breast. Then it thought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. A wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite and nepenthe upon my livers of the north. Quaff this kindly apprentice, and forget this lust Lenore. Earth the lady, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is the balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Earth the lady, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul, with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest of the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from out my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Sitting in the tarry bust of Paris just above my chamber door, through his eyes of all the scene of a demon with his dream, and the lamplight oiling stream throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. And especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest band, which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow man. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers and welded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress nor egress for the sudden impulses of despair or of frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all the appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons, there were improvisatori, there were ballet dancers, there were musicians, there was beauty, there was wine. All these and security were within. Without was the Red Death. It was toward the close of the 5th or 6th month of this delusion, and while the pestilence raged most furiously abroad, the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, that masquerade. But first let me tell you of the rooms in which it was held. There were 7, an imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites form a long and straight vista, while the folding doors slide back nearly to the walls on either hand, so that the view of the whole extent is scarcely impeded. Here the case was very different, as might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre. The apartments were so irregularly disposed that the vision embraced but little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, and at each turn a novel effect. To the right and left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looked out upon a closed corridor which pursued the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass whose color varied in accordance with the prevailing hue of the decorations of the chamber into which it opened. That of the eastern extremity was hung, for example, pure and vividly blue by its windows. The second chamber was purple in its walls and tapestries, and here the panes were red. The third was green throughout, and so were the casements. The fourth was furnished and lighted with orange. The fifth with white. The sixth with violet. The 7th apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung all over the ceiling, down to the walls, falling in heavy folds upon a carpet of the same material. But in this chamber only, the color of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes here were scarlet, the deep blood color. Now in no one of the 7 apartments was there any lamp or candelabrum amid the profusion of golden orbs that they scattered to and fro alternately. There was no light of any kind emanating from lamp or candle within the suite chambers. But in the corridors that followed the suite, there stood opposite to each window a heavy tripod bearing a blazing fire that projected its rays through the tinted glass and so clearly illuminated the room. And thus were produced a multitude of gaudy and fantastic appearances. And in the western or black chamber, the effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark rooms through the blood-tainted panes was ghastly in the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the countenances of those who entered that there were few of the company bold enough to set foot within its precincts at all. It was in this apartment also that there stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang. And when the minute hand made the circuit of the face and the hour was to be stricken, there came from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that at each lapse of an hour the musicians of the orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken to the sound. And thus the waltzers perforce ceased their illusions, and there was a brief disconcert of the whole gay company. And while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that the giddiest grew pale, and the more aged and sedate passed their hands over their brows, as if in confused reverie or meditation. But when the echoes had fully ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked at each other and smiled as if at their own nervousness and folly, and made whispering vows each to the other that the next chime of the clock should produce in them no similar emotion. And then after the lapse of 60 minutes, which embraced 3,016 seconds at the time of flies, there came yet another chiming of the clock, and then there were the same displicence and frivolousness of meditation as before. But in spite of these things, it was a gay and magnificent wedding. The tastes of the Duke were peculiar. He had a fine eye for colours and effects. He disregarded the decor of mere fashion. His plans were bold and fiery, and his conceptions glowed with barbaric lustre. There are some who would have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to hear and see and touch him to be sure that he was not. He had directed in great part the movable embellishments of the 7 chambers upon occasion of this great fete, and it was his own guiding taste which had given character to the masquerades. Be sure they were grotesque. There were much glare and glitter and piquancy and phantasm, much of what has been since seen in our land. There were arabesque figures with unsuited limbs and appointments. There were delirious fancies, such as the madman fashions. There were much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, much of the bizarre, something of the terrible, and not a little of that which might have excited disgust. To and fro in the 7 chambers there stalked, in fact, a multitude of dreams. And these, the dreams, writhed in and about, taking hue from the rooms and causing the wild music of the orchestra to seem as an echo to their steps. And anon, there strikes the ebony clock which stands in the hall of Delirium. Then for a moment all is still, and all is silent, save the voice of the clock. Dreams are stiff potion as they stand, but the echoes of the chime die away, they endure but an instant, and a light half-subdued laughter floats up to what is really quiet. Now again the music swells and the dreams live, and writhe to and fro more merrily than ever, taking hue from the many tinted windows through which stream the rays from the campfires. But to the chamber which lies most westwardly of the city, there are now none of the maskers of adventure, for the night is waning away, and there flows a ruddier light through the blood-coloured panes. The blackness of the sable drapery appalls, and to him whose foot falls upon the sable carpet, there comes from the near clock of ebony a muffled peal, more solemnly emphatic than any which reaches their ears who indulge in the more remote gaieties of the other apartments. But these other apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the heart of life, and the revel went whirlingly on until at length there commenced the sounding of midnight. The music ceased, as I have told, and the evolutions of the waltzes were quieted, and there was no easy cessation of all things as before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock. And thus it happened, perhaps, that more of thought crept, with more of time, into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who revelled. And thus too it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. The rumour of this new presence having spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur, expressive of disapprobation and surprise, then finally of terror, of horror, and of disgust. An assembly of phantasms such as I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited, but the figure in question had out-Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's indefinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion. Even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally jests, there are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company, indeed, seemed now deeply to feel that in the costume and bearing of the stranger neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask, which concealed the visage, was made so nearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting features. And yet all this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But the mummer had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow, with all the features of the face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of Prince Constable fell upon this spectral image, it was slow and solemn, as if more fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro among the waltzers. He was seen to be convulsed in the first moment with a strong shudder, either of terror or distaste, but in the next his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares," he demanded hoarsely of the courtiers who stood near him, "who dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements." It was in the eastern or blue chamber in which Prince Prospero as he uttered these words. They rang through the 7 rooms loudly and clearly. The prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. It was in the room where stood the prince, with a group of pale courtiers by his side. First, as he spoke, there was a slight rushing movement of this group in the direction of the intruder, who at the moment was also near at hand, and now with deliberate and stately step, made Joseph approach to the speaker. But in a certain nameless hall, in which the mad assumptions of the mummer had inspired the whole party, was found none to put forth a hand to seize him, so that unimpeded he passed within a yard of the prince's person. The vast assembly, as if with one impulse, shrank from the slaughter of rooms to rooms. He made his way uninterruptedly, the same solemn, measured step which had distinguished him from the first, from the blue chamber to the blue, from the purple to the green, the orange, through this again. Decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that the Prince Prospero, maddening with rage and shame of his own momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers, while none followed him on account of a deadly terror that had seized upon him. He bore aloft a drawn dagger, and had approached in rapid impetuosity to within 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter, having attained the extremity of the velvet apartment, turned suddenly and confronted his pursuer. There was a sharp cry. The dagger dropped gleaming upon the sable carpet, upon which instantly afterwards fell prostrate in death Prince Prospero. Then summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of revelers at once threw themselves into the back apartment, and seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and corpse-like mask which they handled with so violent a rudeness. Now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. Come like a thief in the night. One by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, died each in the despairing mysteries of the life of the ebony clock went out with that last. The flames of the tranquil expired. Dark darkness and decay, and the Red Death held inimitable dominion over all.
History will remember when the world stopped, and the flights stayed on the ground, and the cars parked in the street, and the trains didn't run. History will remember when the schools closed, and the children stayed indoors, and the medical staff walked towards the fire, and they didn't run. History will remember when the people sat on their balconies in isolation, but so barriers together in courage and sleep. History will remember when the people fought for their old and their weak, protecting the vulnerable by doing nothing at all. History will remember when the virus left, when the houses burned, the people came out and hugged and kissed and started again, kinder than before.
But we're now learning more about the alien systems that choose bombing targets in Gaza, from two reports in the Israeli publications 972 and Local Call. Gospel is a system that produces bombing targets for specific buildings and structures in Gaza. It does this by working in conjunction with other AI tools. And like any AI system, the first step is a large-scale collection of data. In this case, surveillance and historical data on Palestinians and military locations in Gaza.
In this famous information, we need the address, which is the platform that collects data and allows the transfer of data between different departments. Data being transferred to another platform that's called File Factory. The File Factory observes the data and analyzes it.
Generated targets are generally put into one of four categories. First, tactical targets, which usually include unmanned cells, weapons warehouses, launchers, and military headquarters. Then there are underground targets, primarily tunnels under civilian homes. The third category includes the family homes of Hamas or Islamic Jihad operatives. And the last category includes targets that are not obviously military in nature, particularly residential and high-rise buildings with dozens of civilians. The idea calls these power targets. Once the data is organized, it goes through a third layer called the gospel.
The gospel creates an output, which suggests specific possible targets, possible conditions, buildings, possible
This system produces targets in Gaza faster than human can. And within the first seconds of the war, half of all the targets identified were in the power targets category. Multiple sources who spoke to 972 reported that the idea behind power targets is to exert civil pressure on Hamas. Keep home is most likely one of the power targets picked up by the gospel system. Months after the gospel investigation, 972 also circles the more applicated against the underground sector. Military targets was able to keep it. No one has gathered. As the Israel was running out, Vatican used their stored data and surveillance to generate as many as 37,000 Hamas and Israeli jihad targets. Sources from 972 that about 10% of those targets are often locked. Like even when determining that 1% of supposedly current targets, Israel also expanded the definition of a Hamas operative for the first time.
I think it's also problems as terms of evidence in society and interest police force, doctors, and civil society. And so those are the ones that we're looking at.
After all, it uses data to generate these targets. And then limited target to specific people. And then the collective power to use on the target most of the Sources report that for every drone Hamas operated in 11 months, it was permissible to kill up to 15 or 20 civilians. But also that for some targets, the number of permissible civilian casualties was as high as 300.
System drones, fancy, because initially just like for us, everyone was not intelligence and the
we're looking at a future really where there's going to be more emphasized and biased automation of targets that make these civilian casualties much worse. The fallacy of the premise that faster warfare is somehow going to lead to global security and peace. I mean, this is just not the path that's going to get us there. And on the contrary, I think a lot of these, the momentum of these technological initiatives needs to be interrupted in whatever ways we can.
It really aches my head that these units are never going to be back. It's not like I don't comment that, like for example, I traveled and it's like, I know it's there, no, it's not there anymore.
then we'll work on it. It'll spread. Good ideas don't really require force.